What would you do if after 20 years of being in your career, you were made redundant completely by surprise? In today's Midlife Freedom podcast episode, I interview Fatima Lusito, who was in the corporate world for 20 years and beyond, doing a job that she loved in a role that she enjoyed, and was completely surprised when she was made redundant. And obviously how she bounced back from that and what she's done since, because she went through quite the journey to reinvent. If we haven't met before, my name's Lindsay de Swart, and I'm the host of the Midlife Freedom podcast, and I help midlife women to reinvent. I think today's episode will really resonate with you if you've been made redundant, if you're facing redundancy now, or if you think it might be sneaking around the corner, or if you're actually praying for it and you want it to happen. We're going to talk all about it with Fatima and how she's reinvented herself. If you're returning to the podcast, thank you so much. So grateful you're here. And if you're new to the podcast, so glad you found us. Thank you for being here. Okay, let's jump in. Fatima, thank you so much for being on the show. I am so delighted for us to eventually do this. This is so cool.
I know. I am so excited, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're really welcome. So, Fatima, although I know your story, so I might dig out some good nuggets, but apart from that, I would absolutely love for you to introduce yourself in your way, and then I'm going to start digging in and finding out more.
Here we go.
You've got such a great story to share. I can't wait for people to find out.
Yeah, a lot has happened in my life, a lot of change and transformation. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Lindsay. I am a personal growth coach and a career coach, and I had previously worked in the corporate space for over 25 years. And so there were changes that happened in my corporate role that led me to open up my own coaching business. And so right now I work primarily with women, really focusing on getting really clear on their mission, their values, their goals, big goals, not just the little goals, and empowering change, and transformation. And so that is what I do, and super passionate about it.
So how did it all start for you?
So like I said, I was in the corporate space for over 25 years. I worked in HR coaching and I worked on very complex HR matters and I worked up to the executive level. And so what happened is I experienced job loss and our department shut down. And so
the whole department shut down.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
because you were in HR, were you any part of that, or does it come to complete shock to you as well?
I had no clue what was going to happen that day. What is even more crazy is that day, my son actually took out four of his wisdom teeth. And so I come back from the orthodontist or the dentist, and there's a meeting invite from HR that day. And I'm like, this isn't good, because HR never really, HR was never involved in our day-to-day activity. So, but I had never clued that something was going to happen. And so when I got in the meeting, I'll never forget, it was 1:00. I did not put myself on camera, and I was completely shocked. And I'm glad I didn't put myself on camera, because I just sobbed the whole time. I am one person that always has a lot of questions and very involved. But that day I had nothing. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't get myself to even ask a question or say anything. So it was a complete shock. I had to be in my role we had to be in our role for a year in order for us to receive our severance as well. And so it was a really hard time, because part of my role was also managing large scale terminations. And so I was coaching other individuals through their termination. They had no clue that I also had been notified that my job was eliminated. And so fast forward to the end of the year, I had a decision to make. What had happened was, and I am a creature of change, because we went through a lot of mergers and acquisitions. So for the whole 22 years that I would say it wasn't really the same company, but I was in my same senior HR consulting role for 19 years. Prior to that, I was a senior recruiter.
Mm.
And for those years, there was a lot of mergers and acquisitions. So there was
Yeah.
always change going on. But at the end of the year, I decided to not go back to corporate. Yeah.
So they'd made you redundant. You'd had to manage everybody else through the process.
And I was part of that company when I first started in HR and recruiting. So I really experienced burnt out prior to that. I was
Yeah.
really stressed. I didn't have a really good time of or job of prioritizing myself.
Mm.
And so it was a really hard look at what am I going to do next? And I really didn't know what that would look like. And so that was my identity. My identity was my
Mm.
job. And so when someone would ask, well, what do you do? Well, this is where I work. This is what I do.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And so part of it was I made the decision to really step out of just corporate, but to figure out what was next for me. What would that look
Mm.
like? What do I want to do next? What do I enjoy? To really prioritize myself for once. And it's really interesting because at the end of my notice period, if I had to describe myself, because I asked for help as well, I actually got help and stuff because I really needed to figure out what I was going to do next. I called like LifeWorks where you have someone that you can speak to. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I really don't, it's hard to explain. If I had to explain myself, the only way I could actually explain is I was a hamster on a wheel. I did
Yeah.
not know how to get off. My nervous system was so on high alert, and it
Mm.
was years. It was
Mm.
kind of like I often say Oprah and the whispers. That was the big thump on my head to make a change in my life. And so I just didn't realize how fast forward, like since that happened, how my life was going to transform and change. And so what I decided to do 10 months later, so it was August 2023. Yeah,
Mm.
2023. Went with my son. He was going to Europe to play soccer, and that's how we know each other, right? We know
Yeah.
each other from when you lived in Canada, but we didn't know each other really, really well.
Well, no, because of course I was doing this and
Yeah,
you were
I was in
corporate
corporate. I was in
and
corporate. Yeah,
never the twain shall meet in the fact that you had no appreciation of what I did and I had very little appreciation of what you did. So we
absolutely.
had lots of surface level conversation.
Exactly. It was about soccer.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
that's what
For
that's
hours and hours.
ours.
Just think. My goodness, I tell you what, we could have like changed the world by now if it was you and
I'm
me for all those hours on the
It's so
sidelines.
true. It is so
Oh my
true.
goodness.
Oh my goodness.
We'd be
But
running retreats to Hawaii by now for middle-aged women, wouldn't we?
sign me up. Sign me up. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
will
and me, and
attend.
me. So you went to Portugal.
I went to Portugal with my son. He was going to play soccer there. And I asked my sister, I said, do you want to come with me for 3 weeks? And she was like, yeah, I'll come with you. And I've never really traveled without my family. So this was like kind of the first, and I've always been a very independent person. But traveling to somewhere different by myself without it just felt different. And so she injured herself. And so her knee, and so she wasn't able to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do because in Europe, it's a lot of walking.
Mm.
And so what happened was, fast forward to make a long story short, midway through, we were in the Algarve, and one of the things on my bucket list was to climb cliffs. And my sister was like, it was already middle of the trip. She's like, I can't do this. You're going to have to do
Mm.
this by yourself. And I was going to bail out. I'm like, I can't do this. There's no way I can do this. And she's like, no, you're doing it. And it was like really far from the hotel. I had to take a train, Uber. Like, it wasn't like you're just there. It was
Yeah.
like over an hour, and I'm not really good with directions. I'm like, never eat shredded wheat, but where you put that
Mm.
on the map, I don't know.
Oh,
Kind of thing. So
welcome to my world. I'm so with
exactly.
you.
So I climbed these cliffs by myself, all by myself. I didn't realize that that was going to be a life-changing event until obviously months later, after reflecting and all that has transpired in my life. But at the end, I do remember at the end, and this was a few hours of climbing these cliffs. At the end, I just sat and I overlooked the ocean, and I asked myself, like, is this my life? Like, what's next for
Mm.
me? And I really hadn't figured it out yet. And so that was such a life changing moment. And you know what's really interesting, Lindsay, is that just recently, um, Brendan Burchard and Tony
Mm.
Robbins was having an interview. because I'm an ambassador to Growth Day. And Tony Robbins said something, and I was like, now I can kind of see what he's talking about. When he was going through his breaking point, eviction, and all of like his story of like just his life,
Mm,
what happened was he went for a run. He physically pushed himself, changed the
mm,
energy. And he said that run, and he pushed himself really, really hard, vigorous run. It changed his perspective.
mm.
It physically changed the energy. And when I think of my scenario, like when I listened to this interview,
Yeah,
I was like, that was me. I physically did something
yeah,
really hard that I never thought that I could do
yeah,
by myself. And when I look back, I realize why it's so pivotal because I did something hard and I
yeah,
could do something for myself and I can change and I can pursue big things.
yeah. Just fantastic. I love that you've said about that whole having the physical change, because it's the biggest barrier that we get is the stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you do something physical, it's almost as if you prove from the outside inwards that you can actually do it.
Yeah.
And so many people are thinking that they're saying, oh, well, I've got to go and do this new challenge. I've got to do this new thing. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just go and do it without thinking about it. And then you kind of look back and go, oh, well, I did that. And guess what?
Exactly.
I'm still alive. It's a
Yeah.
miracle.
That I was in my comfort zone. Was with the same, so to speak, company,
Yeah.
in the same role, 22
Mm.
years. That was my safety net.
Yeah.
And there were many reasons, and I call them excuses now, that I didn't change. And I
Mm.
was very successful in my role. I was a high achiever, perfectionist. I was a people pleaser, all the things that now, if you want to evolve and grow and transform, those are things that you have to let go of. You have to step
Mm.
outside your comfort zone. You need to open yourself up. So, and the other thing I would say about change is that change is, I often have said that there's different types of change. There's change that we want to change. You
Mm.
make
Of
a
course.
decision to change a lot easier because you make that decision.
Yeah.
But when I experienced job loss, that was a change imposed on me that I didn't ask for.
Yeah.
And so I needed to figure out what was next. You would think that I would know what to do because I helped other people in termination and coached others. I did that for over 25 years. I've been, in coaching and stuff, but it's easier to give advice than to then apply it and change your own life and to do the work and take the actions. Very, very different.
It's so easy to give the advice, a bit like it's so easy to read the book. I
Yeah.
mean, countless Tony Robbins books I've read.
Yeah.
And then you go to the conference and he kind of makes you actually do the stuff, like, walking over the fire and, with the hypnosis that he puts you through. And then you come out and you actually have to walk that walk. And that's when it gets really tricky.
Yeah.
Because
It gets real.
even though, as a practitioner, I knew all of the theory he was putting us through,
Yeah.
and then to implement it
Yeah.
and start living by those rules, those new belief systems,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how much you know up here, it's feeling it that is just a whole different ballgame. So when you came back from Portugal, how long did it take you then to kind of, get into the groove and start doing something different?
So I was, that year was probably my breaking point in my life.
Okay.
There was a lot of change. My son stayed in Portugal. I missed him
Mm,
terribly. I literally got on the airplane. I wanted to parachute down and just like, I can't leave him. And then I was still figuring myself out. I also was going through, premenopause.
yeah.
Frozen shoulder, we didn't know at the time. There were so many things happening. It took me, December is when I joined a women's group. And it was 2 weeks before Christmas. And it was all about something I wasn't very good at, prioritizing myself. And so I signed up. I signed up. I
Yeah.
said, this is it. Like, I need to prioritize,
Yeah.
like I need to
Good for
be
you.
around other women that are doing this and maybe I'll
Yeah.
learn something. And so I did that. And that is when everything really started to shift. I started to gratitude journal. I joined
Right.
Growth Day, which I'm an ambassador for Growth Day, which is
Mm,
like a personal and professional development app. And we all used this app during this group, and then we would share our learnings, like how do we prioritize ourselves. And I journaled, I did gratitude journaling, and I used to love to write, which is really interesting. I have old
Mm,
journals and stuff, but I got away from that because life got busy and I just wasn't doing that anymore. And so for 6 weeks, I just dedicated to gratitude journaling. And what I journaled, because I often get this question, what do you journal about like every day? It has evolved now how I
mm,
journal because I still journal every single day. But when I started, all I focused on, because there was so many things that were not going right in my life, that
yeah.
all I focused on is what am I grateful for today? What are 3 things I'm grateful for? And I just did that for 6 weeks before I implemented something else. And the reason I did that, and it was very intentional, is because in the past, I used to go, I'm an all in person. Like, I'm like, okay, let's do this. Let's go. Right. I have a lot of energy, but it didn't serve me well because a few weeks later, I'd be like exhausted. And then I
Yeah.
would just be like, so I said, I promised myself, let me just focus on gratitude journaling. Then I will start implementing some other things like moving my body was really important and weights and
Mm,
stuff. So then I started incorporating other things. And every time I incorporated something new, I I would do another 6 weeks. I just did that and things started to shift because I was taking action. And
mm.
then that year is when I was like, okay, and we connected because I reached out to you. I saw what you were doing, like the digital marketing. And it was like, really, there was a lot of talk about that. Maybe it was my algorithm too, because I was like starting to really, look at social media. And I was like, well, I can help people. I
Mm,
have a coaching background
mm,
and I'm going to start my own coaching business. And so that's how it evolved. And then I just immersed myself in learning, getting uncomfortable and taking action. Even though I was uncomfortable, I was scared. I had a lot of doubts, but I just took action and I just showed
mm.
up every single day.
As a matter of interest,
Yeah.
and this tells how totally not corporate I am and haven't been for eons, when you were in the corporate world, were you even aware of it? Or was it one of those things that, it was just sort of like an Instagram quote that people would say, "Oh, what are you grateful for?" Was
Yeah.
it even in your on your radar?
So the way I used to journal, because I have binders of journaling. I
Right.
even have a box of poems. I used to love to write poems. And I
Oh,
found
wow.
that box. Yeah. I used to love, and I used to get poems and actually found the box at my parents' house. And I was like, oh my goodness, it brought me back to a place that brought me joy and happiness.
Oh,
And so,
cool.
yeah, it filled my heart when I was going through that. And so, but what I used to journal is I just journal about my day. This is what happened. And
Right.
even when I was pregnant, like I have journals of like, whatever I was feeling that day. And when the kids were born, like all of that. I didn't really talk like I did probably because I've gone back to read some of it and I did talk at the end like just or right at the end like I'm so grateful for whatever it was, but
Mm,
it wasn't like as focused as it was when I started to really pay attention to what I was grateful for. And I think also what was hard is that it was such a hard time for my life to actually look for something I'm grateful for in the
yeah.
midst of in that moment, there wasn't a lot to be I have a home, have my kids, my
Mm,
family, but but when I look at it, I probably would be more like, what am I grateful for? Like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I'm in my midlife. I have to like reinvent myself, like all these things that were like more negative than positive. It
mm,
was really hard to just stay centered on what am I grateful for? So I think it was the vibe was different. The energy was different when I was journaling and gratitude
right.
journaling than it was back, years before.
Yeah. It was more kind of a Dear Diary kind of journal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dear
Then
diary. I know exactly what happened, like all of those things, like back when I was dating my husband, what we did, like all of those things. But
yeah.
now it was just different.
I remember, I can't even remember where I got it from, but it was when I was living in Canada. There was times that I used to drive down to the gym and I had like a half-hour drive to the gym because I'd drop the kids off and then drive to the gym. And I remember doing an exercise where you had to say out loud every morning 100 things that you were grateful for.
Mm,
And man, oh man, did you have to search? Because
yes,
even the most grateful person in the world
I know. it's hard with 3. I
100.
can't imagine 100. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a challenge. Anyway, so then you got into the digital marketing, and I'm going to ask you to tell the story about that because obviously I know it from my perspective.
Yeah.
But what was your biggest challenge when you decided that when you were going to get into the digital marketing? What was your biggest challenge?
Well, there were quite a few, but I think initially I was unclear. I knew I wanted to work on personal growth, but I didn't really know what that looked like. But then I also wanted to help women start their own business. So I remember our first conversation. I'm like, Lindsay, I'm going to have 2 accounts and I'm going to, I'm going to manage these 2 accounts. And you're like, don't do it. And I'm like, I'm doing this. I can do it. I'm a high achiever, but I'm also a perfectionist. So I managed for 3 months. I don't even know how I lasted. I was
Nor do
burning
I.
myself out. And that was the point of doing this, was to not burn myself out. So I was going back to my old ways, right? It's
Yeah.
so incredible when we stop ourselves and how easy it is for us to revert back to our old ways that don't serve us. And so I then said, no, I need to really, I got quiet with myself and I really asked myself, like, what am I most passionate about? What's my mission
Wow.
here? What do I want to do? And I knew that I wanted to coach others. I wanted to really help individuals change their life, transform their life, use their
Wow.
skills, their knowledge, all of those things to pursue their passions. And so I dropped the one where it's like building your own business, midlife. And from there, I just started to, and I don't know if you remember this, you probably remember this story. The other thing that I did was I hadn't really shared my story on either accounts, right? And so I remember talking to you and I'm like, oh my goodness, I think, and I was kind of hiding in some ways because I was doing like, not really quotes, but I was like not using myself in my
Yep.
videos and social media. And because I was afraid. I had never been on social media before.
Yeah.
This was all new to me. And I was new to entrepreneurship. And so I was just like, how do I show up here? And so I remember a conversation. You're like, rip the band-aid off, just like share your story. And I remember that day, I still have the video
I
of
remember
me
the video.
sharing. Yeah. I went on and on about my story. I said everything. And that wasn't even job loss. It was like everything that was happening in my life. I was crying on camera, all the things that you probably shouldn't do on your first, like, here, I'm here and this is what I'm
Yeah.
about. I just
It
did it.
needed to happen, right?
Yeah, and I put my phone down. I went for a walk. I thought I was going to puke because I just shared my story, my truth, and I was vulnerable. And I had never shared that, especially publicly. It's different when you do it with your friends and your family, but now on
Mm.
social media, it just felt very different. And I remember reaching out to you. You're like, well, if you can do that, you can do anything. And I'm like, okay, that's it. I've done it. Like, it's out there. I've shared my story. And it just started to shift. It wasn't easier in the beginning. It's a lot different now because
Mm.
anytime I think we take action, we start working on ourselves, we really start getting that clarity. My identity has shifted from where I was
Yeah.
before to where I am right now. I see things very differently, but that's come with me also working on myself and
Yeah. But also,
also, yeah,
I
working
was
on
going to say,
myself and taking action, messy
yeah.
action. I wasn't perfect in this process. If you look at my videos in the beginning to where I am now, I've evolved. You can see it.
I was going to say, there's also the education, though. You educated yourself on a whole new set of skills.
Yeah.
And I mean, the content you put out is fantastic. You mastered those skills.
Thank you.
And as you say, you came from a complete standing start. So,
Yeah.
for other women who are really scared about getting themselves on social media, I've got a question for you. How
Yeah.
many people actually watched your first video?
Funny story. I did not post the first video on my account for it was about 3 or 4 days. I thought I was going viral. And it was like, it was nothing that I remember. It was like me, it was just a video of Portugal, like just kind of like pictures and stuff like that. But my kids are like, just post it, mom, just post it. So I posted it. I probably had maybe 4 or 6 views. I
Yeah,
really didn't
there we
have
go.
that much. It was so, so small, but I thought I was going viral and it didn't. And then that's where you start doubting yourself, right? And you start thinking, okay, and it was just one video. And I'm like, okay, I'll show up the next one. Then I started doing post another video. It takes time. I think often you see people that are very successful, and that happens on social media. They get a lot of following, but when you're brand new, you've never done it before, you're trying to figure yourself out too and getting comfortable in the beginning. I wouldn't go live. I wouldn't share talking videos. That took practice. It took me
Yeah.
doing that over and over again. And
Yeah.
so it takes time. We have to give ourselves, I think, grace and compassion. And that's a really big thing for me is like, okay, I did something really scary, just like this podcast. Like I've never done podcasting before. Like being here, I've done lives but podcasting, this is new to me. Like this is not something that I've done before. But it's like building a muscle, right?
It
As you
totally is.
keep doing it, you start like, oh, I can do that. Okay, I've done that. Okay, I can do this. It's
And
just,
you'll do a couple
yeah.
and you'll be like, easiest thing in the world, like
I know.
falling off a
Come on,
log.
bring it on. Look, give me another one.
I know. They
Yeah.
say with YouTube, for people getting on YouTube, the first 10 videos basically are for you. That
Mm,
don't even assume anybody's going to see them because
mm.
they're for you. They're for you to get used to the camera, get used to a microphone, get used to how you sound, figure out what you're going to say, what bits you want to share, what you don't want to share, and then how to load it. And it's purely your learning ground. Those 10 videos, you could be talking about your cat pet food. It just wouldn't matter because
I
that's
don't know
not the
anything about
purpose of them.
YouTube, so I know all Instagram is kind of my favorite place.
Yeah,
That's my
brilliant.
comfort, but YouTube, yeah, like that's
It,
I
it's
think
all
when you
video.
start out, I think it's the same thing. It's probably
Totally.
unless you're a marketer or you have that social media background and education, you're coming from a different lens and experience or knowledge, even if it's just like education. But when you don't have that and you're trying to show up and learn, it can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that I know that have kind of given up in some ways.
Yes,
And it's not
definitely.
because they weren't they weren't sharing good information, that they didn't have the knowledge. It's just because it can become overwhelming.
Yeah, it
But
can.
the more you show up, the more you do it. That would be my
Mm,
biggest advice is showing up and then surrounding yourself with, obviously, we're connected, having people that you surround yourself that you can relate to, that will encourage you, that will be supportive and
mm,
let you know that because we all have bad days, whether you're in the corporate
yeah.
space, whether even, these high performance coaches and leaders, they talk about this too. They also mess up. They have hard days, but
Mm,
I think it's leaning into the practices that we have. So when we have those hard days, that we can recenter ourselves and that we can lean into that. And then also the people that are going to be the ones that are going to be like, I just had a really a rough day, a rough week. And then
yeah.
someone that you can just talk to and be real with. And it may not be your family. Like it may
Oh,
not be,
very
it's
likely not
most
to be.
likely not your family. It's going to
Yeah.
be people that are actually doing what you're doing. Maybe it's people that are, ahead of you and they've already been through those pains.
Mm,
All of those things are things to just keep in mind as you start
mm.
doing those new things.
I think it's really interesting that you're saying about being your family because rarely is it your family.
Mm,
They ultimately, the role of your family is they want to protect you.
yeah,
And so if you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, don't expect your family to be the ones that are supportive.
no,
Not because they don't want the best for you, but purely because they do want the best for you. And if they haven't done what you're wanting to do, they don't know what's on the other side. It
yeah.
could be like, you throwing yourself off a cliff as far as they're concerned. It's like, why would you do that? Because they don't know. So I think if you go in, and it's like people say, if you've got a new Instagram page, a lot of people start by blocking their family because they're
Yeah,
like, while I'm finding my way, I want you to have no part in this.
yeah,
And it doesn't mean that you don't love your family or they don't love you and they don't support you. It's they don't know what you're doing. And what you're doing is something that's hard and it's not what everybody is doing
yeah.
because it's hard
It
and
is.
it's
It is.
uncomfortable.
It
And
is.
there are days, as you said, that you feel like you're falling on your face just again and again and again.
Absolutely. And it's funny because my husband's not on Instagram, but I've showed him some of the videos and he's just like amazed. He's like, how, like, how did you do that? Like, how do you, and the talking ones, he gets emotional, to be honest. Cause
Oh,
they, and
bless him.
and my kids, when they watch me, when I first started, now it's like, because I've been doing it for a longer time, right? They're so used to it. It becomes the norm. But in the beginning,
Yeah,
they're like, Mom, like, that's you. Like, I don't even know who you are. Like,
yeah,
because they're seeing a different version. But when I was in
yeah,
the corporate world, the same thing. They didn't see me talking to clients, coaching clients. They weren't in those conversations. So you're a different person, and so to speak, when you're
yeah.
having those interactions. It's the same thing. You're showing up you're doing something different that they've never seen you do. And now they see you on social media and they're like, what is going on here? That's my mom. That's my wife. Yeah, but they can be there to encourage you, just like you're saying, but they're not going to be the ones to understand if they're not also in social media. My husband has no clue. It's
Yeah.
not. He thinks I'm doing amazing. And meanwhile, I'm like, no, I got to do this and I need to do this, right?
Yeah, fantastic. But you've really surrounded yourself with a great support group now,
Yeah.
haven't you? With Growth Day. So
With
tell us
Growth
about Growth
Day,
Day.
yeah.
I've got to know, are you okay, or would you share
Yeah.
your story about going to the Growth Day event? Because
Yes,
we
absolutely. I was
spoke
going to
just before you went, and it's absolutely magical to see how it all unfolded.
Oh, like how I got there? Oh my gosh, I've never shared this story.
Are you
I
happy to share it? If not, just censor it and no one will ever know. It's just
oh,
between you
I
and me. No one will know.
I will say that, you know, when I think about investing in ourselves, it's scary
Mm,
because sometimes financially, it's hard to make that decision, right?
mm.
Because there's expenses and you're starting out, and you got to think, I experienced job loss. It's not like I had other income coming in. So when the Growth Day event happened, it was April of 2025. I was already a Growth Day member for over a year. And it was in Austin, Texas, 3-day event, just like when you were talking about Tony Robbins and those events. Like it was, I think Tony Robbins probably a little more intense than Brendan, but Brendan is high energy. Like I
I
did
was going to say not
not.
a lot more intense than Brendan, because Brendan is intense.
Yeah, he is intense. He is, but it's just activating all your senses. They want to reprogram you. I did not. I had never been part of an event like that. So
Mm.
I'll be very honest, I probably went into it very naive. Not I thought I was just going to network and this is going to boom my business and like I'm going to meet really nice
Bless your sweet
people.
corporate soul.
Yeah, it was my God. Like, I'm just gonna like this gonna be incredible. And I get to meet him. I obviously was very excited about that, but I didn't anticipate how I was going to react.
Yeah.
And so what led up to that is financially, I was like, how am I gonna do this? And my husband, thankfully he was very supportive. He's like, we're making this happen. You're doing it. And I'm like, okay, we're going to make this happen. So the interesting thing is that I one needed to find a roommate because we were staying at the JDW Marriott, which was like, woo, expensive. And so at first what I did was I was like, I need to find somebody that I can room with. I reached out to somebody in Growth Day. I had never met her before. And I just said, do you want to room with me? So tell me that's not even crazy right there. I met her at the airport for the first time and we roomed together. And now we're accountability partners and we're really close. Isn't that like it was just like meant to be. It's
Amazing.
really crazy. But it was a chance, right? It could have gone really,
Yeah.
really bad.
But what about the actual experience? I mean, what happened at the event? Because it was a bit of a shocker, wasn't it?
It was. So like I said before, I thought I was going to network and I kind of went in with being a little naive in some ways. The first day I was really emotional. I cried the whole time. I did. And I was embarrassed because I was meeting other Growth Day members that was part of the community that I had known just virtually. I never had met them in person. And here I am just like with like I was just breaking down because I think that what I realized when I went there and what Brendan talked about is, what kind of life do we want to live? Like all areas. It's not I was going in from a business mindset,
Yeah.
but he was like, "What kind of wife do you want to be? What kind of mother do you want to be? What kind of life do you want to live?" And I did not realize that it was going to hit me in that way. Um, and so one of the things that I did love as well is there was a lot of dancing. And if you know me, I love music and dancing. And so I started off just dancing at my seat. But day 2, I actually got right by the stage. I would have gone on stage with him, to be honest with you, but I probably would have been chopped down.
Why didn't you? I thought you
No,
did.
you can't. You can't go on stage, but you were
Oh,
around the stage. So you see a lot on my Instagram. I have videos of me at Growth Day. Like, really, what I ended up doing is after the first day, having my breakdown, the next day I was like, okay, I'm going to fully immerse myself in all of this experience. But what I'm also going to do is be my true authentic self. And that's what I did. And I started sharing, because one of the things that the event that he does is you do breakout sessions, and you
right.
break out with 5 people, which is incredible with the amount of people that were there, that you would have breakout sessions, and there would be, I think it's like 5 minutes each person. You're able to share I think it's maybe 3 minutes. You share, there's 4 questions that you ask yourself. And so I was just myself, and every person had said, "I'm so grateful for being here." And by the second day, I'm like, "I'm tired of hearing that." What I ended up saying, and I got everybody in tears. So now everyone else is crying. I said, "No doubt I am grateful for being here, just to be present here and experience this. But what I'm so grateful for is that I'm being my true authentic self. And I'm now out of my seat, and I'm right by the stage, and I'm fully immersing myself into this experience." And so everybody's like, "Oh my goodness." And so, these events it was another life-changing event. It really
Right.
allowed me to just like really start, like, I'm all in,
Yeah.
and so it was an incredible event.
So you're, as you said, you're an ambassador for Growth Day.
I'm an ambassador for Girls' Day. Yeah.
So
Uh,
what is Growth Day? Is it an app? Is it a
Yeah,
membership? What is it?
so it is a personal and professional development app. And so
Right.
there are over 40 top coaches in there. Mel Robbins, most people know Mel Robbins. When I say Mel Robbins, it's surprising how many people don't know Brendan Burchard. It's actually really surprising.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, Ed Milet, he's a mindset coach. So all of these coaches are in one place. There's courses, there's journaling, back to journaling, back where I started. Every day we get to hear a different lesson or inspiration. And so the other thing that I've created, and I actually thought about this just recently. It's a full circle moment in some ways. I started off in a community group, and now I'm helping other
Yeah.
people in a community base live out their best life and do really courageous things, and, fulfill the things that they want in their life.
Fantastic. And what are you learning about yourself in running this community? Because that is a growth thing as well, isn't it?
I think what I've learned about myself is that there's so many different ways of doing things, different personalities, that I don't have to be, in some ways, I don't know if the right word is rigid, but everything has to be planned out. I'm
Yeah.
more like go with the flow. Like, all of this is unplanned, what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. That is uncomfortable for me. Like, that is not a natural, like, I'm much more comfortable now, but it's not my natural tendency. I've had to
Yeah.
work on myself to be able to just talk about my story
Mm.
openly.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do with the women, is I've learned to just be more open, that there's different ways of seeing things,
Yeah.
and being able to support them in that, in their journey as well. So I've learned a lot about myself, and also through my own coaching. More and
Yeah.
more women that I've talked to recently, because I also do one-on-one coaching, and I also have a workshop that I host, and it's Align and Elevate, it's really focused on um, getting clear on, because for me, the why, the mission, the values is really important. I
Yeah.
always go back to, I look at my board every single day, and I look at my mission. This is my mission, especially when you're doing hard things. It's a reminder. So one of the things that I find very interesting, in the last few weeks, more and more women have reached out to me about opening up their own business in the corp.
Oh.
So there's personal growth, but there have been curiosity of women that are currently in the corporate space that are
Yeah.
burnt out. Say, I can totally relate. I know what that feels like. And also women that have, they're stay-at-home moms, they're wanting to do other things. Um, and they're inquiring about, like, how do I figure out what I do next? And so I find that very interesting in the midst of like AI and everything. That's a whole nother topic, right? Is that there's more and more women that are really wanting to take care of themselves, but do things that they're
Yeah.
passionate about.
Yeah. So cool. So, so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have similar conversations with women, but of course I don't bring the corporate.
Yeah.
I bring the way more kind of out there, loosey goosey, spiritual, energetic, whatever you want to call it. And funnily enough, I do incorporate AI within that,
Mm,
but I combine it with astrology and all sorts of stuff. But at the end of the day, you've got to go with whichever system resonates with you.
yeah.
So, corporate women, you know what they're going through
Yeah.
because you've come out the other side.
Recently, I've partnered with a transition counseling firm. And so individuals that their jobs they've experienced termination, I'm
Yeah.
coaching them on moving forward, their next step.
Amazing.
But I know what it feels like. And so
Yeah.
that's the thing. When we're able to share our knowledge, but also our experience, I think
Yeah.
that's where that change happens. It's relatable.
Yeah. Fantastic. Now, look, I'm slightly aware of time
Yeah.
because I always try and keep these into a sort of digestible container, shall we say. So, where can people find you when the
Thank you. So Instagram, it's at Fatima underscore lifestyle living. I'm also on LinkedIn, really focused on LinkedIn right now as well. So there's a lot
Okay.
there. But there's an actual link. I don't know the specific link details. And I also have my own website and a free community newsletter that I send out every Wednesday on tips of personal growth and professional growth.
Right. Okay. I will put those links underneath so people can come and find you and find out all about the work that you're doing.
Amazing. I love that. And I
Cool.
love the
Well,
work you're doing too, Lindsay. Thank
thank
you.
you. And thank you so much for being on the podcast and making us one of your first podcasts. I'm so
Oh my
grateful.
gosh. Yes, I did it. You could do hard things. If I can do it, anyone else can do hard things. We can do hard things.
Good on you. You should be very proud of yourself because
Oh,
I'm very proud of you.
thank you.
Hi, what did you think of the show? So great to have you here. I hope you really enjoyed it and hope you took something away from it too. Anything that was mentioned in the show, you'll find the links in the show notes down below. But also, while you're here, I'd love to invite you to come over and join our community, the Midlife Freedom Club. The Midlife Freedom Club was exactly what I wish that I'd had when I was going through designing my new life and my reinvention. So the Midlife Freedom Club is full of resources for you. It has the podcast in one easy place to access all of the information. You'll get mindset shifts in there. You'll get small training courses, and you'll also get Q&A sessions and weekly calls. So you can come in there and just have some all-round foundation building life coaching within that community. So if you're reinventing yourself or you're designing your next chapter, it is the community that you want to be in. It's full of midlife women who are stepping up, using all of their fantastic experience to move forward into their next chapter, into their freedom era. So if that's you, come and join us in the community. I'd love to see you there. And you'll find the link below.